Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today we're going to be taking a look at a knife that I've been wanting to get on this review table for quite a while. That is none other than the American Blade Works M1 V6. Now, before I go any further into this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see on my channel, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. Follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, let's take a look at some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length of 7.92 inches with a blade length coming in at 3.25 inches, a blade width of 0.96 inches with a blade thickness of 0.12 inches. Blade material on this guy is S35 VN with a drop point style blade, a flat grind, a handle length coming in at 4.67 inches with a handle thickness of 0.50 inches. Handle width on this guy is 1.03 inches, measured right about here. I always measure the width of my handles at the widest point of the handle, guys, just in case you're ever wondering. Never go in the middle, never go up here. Always find the widest area and give you that, because I think that can give you something to work with moving down to kind of guesstimate the rest of the handle. Now, the handle material on this guy is G10 with a liner lock for locking mechanism with a right or left hand tip up carry, a weight coming in at 3.5 ounces, and a price of $185. If you guys didn't know, this was completely sourced and made in the good old US of A at American Blade Works. So always nice, always worth pointing out. Now let's take a look at some overall what? Yeah, let's just do some size comparisons. They're not overall size comparisons. I was getting confused like an idiot again. But let's get into size comparisons. Here we go. Here's our TRM Atom and our Benchmade 940. As you can see right there, it's good examples of length with the 940. It's pretty close. Tilt it up. The 940 wants to do its own thing. But as you can see, one thing that is kind of worth noting on these knives is the curvatures of the handle. They all kind of curve a little down. Not quite as much on the 940, a little more so on the Atom. But that does come into effect and really does make a difference in the overall feel and hand. Now let's go to a couple other ones, a couple other American made. We're going completely American made today. We may not do that enough on this channel. We may have to do a little more. But here is the Spyderco Smock, as well as your Spyderco Paramilitary 2. As you can see, very close in terms of length with the Smock, and of course the handle of the PM2 kind of just takes over. So there you go. There's your size comparisons. Now let's get to talking about this knife. This is a pretty sweet knife. I gotta say, it's not perfect, but this is a knife that has been through so many versions. As you can see, this is a V6, so this is the 6th version. Surprise, surprise. But it's been through so many changes and improvements over time. I wish I could have held some older ones to kind of get a feel of just how many improvements. I remember seeing some other reviewers review the V1, and they had a lot of complaints. Now, the owner of American Blade Works, the man behind the scenes, I don't know his name. I don't know him personally. I don't know him at all. But they keep hitting on the point that he was really open to criticism. He was, constantly working on making it better. And I can say, even though I haven't held the other versions, this one is very, very nice, and it's obvious he has made a ton of improvements from the first V6 model. And that's something I really appreciate, because there's not a lot of people that can, take criticism, take it in, and use it to their benefit. That's how you get better. That's how you grow a business and a brand. And he's doing that very well at American Blade Works. So that's very important to note. Now, this blade in general is just a very nice working blade with a great steel. I mean, it's S35VN. In my opinion, you can't ever go wrong with S35VN. Regardless of what super steels come out in the future, S35VN is solid and true, and it's just not going to let you down, especially for any type of EDC carry. We have a decent edge on this guy, an edge reading coming in right around 20 thousandths, so it does cut pretty darn well. We have a very high, almost full flat grind that is going to help even more with that. And just an overall blade that is very, very solid for some good EDC carry. We also have some great jimping and a sharpening choil that is done about as good as you can do, really. Really like the sharpening choil on this, but the jimping is one that I really appreciate because it really does bite your thumb. You feel it, you know it's there, and you're gonna use it because the ergos, the feel, the positioning in your hand puts your thumb right there, and that's something I always appreciate with any knife. I don't want to be trying to search and feel around like, oh wait, where do I go? Where does my hand go on this knife? This is another one. You can hold it right here. You can hold it right here. Wherever you go, your thumb is going to be directed right to that jimping. So, and it kind of sounds dumb to say because people are like, well, where else are you going to put your thumb? Well, you know, I don't know. Some people hold their thumb farther back. Some people have like weird grips on it or, you know, weird preferred ways to hold the knife. For me, it's always right here. And my thumb just kind of goes there wherever I hold it. And I like that. I like the consistency in the handle. I also really like how the blade markings are stamped. That's pretty cool. Actually, it's just the one marking, but it's right there, and it's stamped in there. There's grooves. I don't know if it's stamped or if it's milled. I kind of, yeah, you know what, looking at it, it probably is milled. It's probably not stamped. But regardless, it has some depth to it. It looks cool. Kind of looks like old school almost. I don't know. I really like that. I appreciate the way it looks. And then on the show side of the blade, it's completely sterile. So it looks very, very nice and clean. I also like the flipper tab on this knife, which you have to get used to. For some reason, this flipper tab gave me fits when I first got it. I had trouble deploying it. We'll talk more about that when we get to the action. And it wasn't the knife. It was definitely a user error here. You just have to get used on how to use it, which I'll explain later. Now, going into the handle and ergos, the ergos are great, and they're great in two positions, which is really important. You have your regular kind of standard grip here. Feels really good. Love the way the handle swells into the hand. Does a good job of filling it up. And then you can choke up and use this choilish area here, and it feels just as good. And I'm a little at a loss for words here because this is one of the very few times where I don't know which one I like better. This feels really good here. I feel like I'll probably end up, you know, carrying it in, you know, or gripping onto it with this in this position a little more. But man, I really don't have too strong of a preference either way. They feel good either way in the hand, so that's very much appreciated. And I really like how the handle curvature kind of goes down. So when you're holding it in this position, it tips the blade. Instead of going like this, you're kind of naturally holding the blade down just a little more. Kind of, you know, just point the blade down, having a good working position for a nice aggressive cut or any type of, you know, work you're probably gonna need to do with the blade. It's just a nice position to have the handle in so it's not straight out. Some handles are so straight, it can kind of feel like the blade is pointing back a little. So I'd much rather feel it pointing forward than pointing back. Now, obviously, you know, I'm moving my hand to make it look like this. That's not this knife, but other knives, you kind of have just that weird blade positioning. This one is not. It's very natural and it has that nice downward feel to it. In terms of texturing on the G10, it's just enough. It feels really good. It's not too much. It's not going to tear up your jeans or anything like that. It's going to work just fine and give you just enough grip, not too much grip. I don't know if there really is so much as too much grip. It goes from like just enough to annoying, but this is good. No issue here with this whatsoever. And the clip. This is the one part of the knife I would change. The clip has its pros and cons. In terms of pros, I really do enjoy this simple design. Kind of has that pen look to it. Ergonomically, it's great. No hot spots whatsoever. Feels really good in hand. But then the clip retention, it's not great. I think it could be a little stronger. And even more so, the biggest concerning factor for me with this clip is just how thin this is. Guys, I got wide hips. So when I'm turning a corner, I'm also, you know, I can be a little clumsy. So sometimes, you know, I may brush the side of a door or a wall or, you know, a corner of something as I walk by it. And I could see this thing easily getting bent. I don't want to, that would not be good to do that. But as you can see, you can push down and it's pretty flimsy. Now I get the fact that it's steel or it's probably titanium, but I don't like being able to do that, this right here, with my clips. So I would personally be worried about turning a corner, catching it on something and bending it, and then you're screwed. So I would definitely like to see this clip be more robust. A stronger clip, I think, would be a great improvement on the next version. Now, going into the action, I've seen some other reviews of this knife, and people have complained about the detent or the action. And I tell you what, maybe I just got a good version, but yeah, no real issue whatsoever with this guy. It's not very drop shutty. You got to shake it shut pretty good, but I'm okay with that. I would much rather, in my terms of importance on the action of a knife, is definitely more so on deployment than closing. Gotta have smooth deployment or good deployment, and you have that here. It's kind of weird. It's kind of a soft, like a quiet deployment. The detent for me on this one, it's good. I don't have any issue with the detent whatsoever. I think the detent is as good as it could be. But it just doesn't have a thwack. I mean, if you listen for it, it's kind of a muffled thwack, which, I mean, that's whatever. You know, that's something we look for as knife nuts, knife enthusiasts, and knife reviewers. We're going to point out the thwack. We're going to point out the sounds of something. So the sounds are just very, very muffled. But again, it doesn't take away from great action. Really good action. The one thing in terms of the flipper, you guys just saw me do it. This is a flipper that takes a little getting used to. I wish the jimping went farther back. It needs a couple more notches of jimping. Like just one here and then here. Then it would be mwah. It would be perfect. But as it is, if you put your finger right here, you're going to do a lot of that. You're going to slide off it. But if you come from the top, light switch it down, it's going to fly out reliably every single time. So in terms of that, it's just one you got to get used to. All knives are different. So you got to figure out how to deploy your knives, guys. It's no different than any other tool you use. You can't pull out a drill and use it like a hammer. You got to know how to use it. So you figure out how to deploy this blade. It's going to work very, very well for you. Overall, I'm a huge fan of this knife. I like it a lot. Anytime I can get an American-made blade like this in hand and have it be affordable too, at $185. Now these are hard to get a hold of. They're made in smaller batches, just because the fact that it's a smaller business. You know, the guy's doing the best he can. So if it's something that interests you, keep an eye out for American Blade Works. Your best chance is going to be able to be getting them off the website, American Blade Works. Google them, pull it right up. But I'm sure he's got more versions coming. But of course, that all takes time because it's being made in a nice little shop, the United States of America. So it's something that you got to be patient for. But it is something that is worth waiting for, in my opinion. I definitely recommend this knife, especially at $185 for a fully sourced American-made knife. Not too bad at all when you're talking S35VN steel as well. I would still take S35VN just as happily as I would a lot of the other super premium blade steels from 20CV to M390. It's really hard to go wrong with S35, guys. But overall, very, very happy with this knife. Looking forward to possibly adding one to my collection here later on down the line, because it's one that I think I would enjoy. It's one I think you guys would enjoy, and I hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think of American Blade Works in general and this knife? I would look forward to hearing your guys' thoughts on this. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and until the next one, I'm out.